Hobbii has been in hot water with a large portion of the knitting and crochet community for a while now, and with recent events, it's really starting to boil over. So let's look into it today. Hobbii Yarn is a Danish-born fiber arts web store. They sell things like crochet hooks, knitting needles, patterns, and of course they're best known for their large and colorful array of yarn. Credit where credit is due, first and foremost, because this is not a hate video. I really like their web store. I think it's easy to navigate. I like their products, and contrary to common complaint, I've actually had a positive experience with their customer service. Actually, there was this one time I ordered a bunch of yarn, but they had an inventory issue, so they didn't have all the skeins in stock that I asked for, and this woman reached out to me. She gave me a bunch of options, and in the end she was like, okay, we're gonna send you the skeins that we do have. We'll send you the rest of it when we do restock. Those we'll send to you for free. It comes to me as no surprise that Hobbii has been very, very successful. They started in 2015 as just an e-commerce platform, but eventually they branched out. Now they have a blog. They collaborate with a bunch of different designers. They do knit and crochet alongs, and important to know for later is they actually have a Hobbii bingo, which they host every single Monday, and they've got a few different regional hosts. It's all really cool stuff. They have commercialized and gone through a lot of changes in the past few years. I've heard people refer to them as the Yarn Zara or the fast fashion company of yarn. A few weeks ago, Hobbii made the following post to their LinkedIn page. Let's be honest, nobody has 100% control over AI. Is this image AI? No doubt about it. At Hobbii, we use AI a lot. It has clear perks, like saving our tech team from long, awkward photo shoots. Even if the consequence is a photo that looks a bit more staged than casual, it hopefully gets the job done. Beyond the quick wins and the fun images, there's a real conversation to be had. Right now, the industry narrative is obsessed with convenience. Faster, cheaper, automated, but at what cost? As we integrate LLMs deeper into our tech stack, we're facing a shift that most corporate posts ignore: the steady trade-off between scaling and sovereignty. At Hobbii, we're constantly navigating three conflicting perspectives: the excitement of building and playing with new possibilities, the strategic concern over losing control of our own data foundations, the human question: what does this do to our autonomy and how we develop knowledge? There are no easy answers or polished sides for this. That's why our CTO, Thomas Antvorskov-Krau, is joining the panel at Data, Drinks, and Dilemma on 4th of June, together with Peter Sass-Renard. No pitches, just a raw conversation about the dilemmas we actually face when the hype clears. Are we scaling our business, or are we just becoming passengers in them? Check the first comment for more info about the event. And with this is a photo of Thomas, which has been put through Gemini AI, as we can see the logo in the lower right. As a way to spark anticipation for the panel, they address the complications and concerns of AI integration. They say, yes, this is something that needs navigation, and they admit in this post, we use AI and this image is AI generated. The initial issue was that when they said, we use AI a lot, such as saving the team from long and awkward photo shoots, quite a few people took that as we use AI for our product photos. The post was not well received to many of their customers, who are now boycotting, expressing disdain, and searching for alternative yarn brands. Why did this elicit such a reaction? Let's look at the comments just under this one post. You sell physical crafting goods that need to look like the product photos in order to be useful. Why would I ever buy yarn from a site that doesn't have real pictures of the yarn? Why would creatives give money to a site that thinks creating art is a long, awkward hassle? The thing about not having real pictures of the yarn at this early point in the discussion is only an assumption, or you could say it's a misread. The post says, yes, we use AI. Yes, they used AI in this particular post and in other places. They did not specify where else exactly. For this particular topic especially, it's very important to be clear on what the parameters are and how they are being communicated, because what usually happens is people jump to untrue conclusions and then the criticism becomes kind of unfair. But the last sentence here is really the essence of it, I think. Why would you not only circumvent creativity as a creative business, but kind of proudly announce that to your audience in kind of like a haha quirky way? How did you think it was going to be received? Like, who is running this page? Like, what else is going on? There's this suspicion right off the bat that they made this post to LinkedIn exclusively because they didn't think that knitters and crocheters who are predominantly on like TikTok and Instagram would see it.
Despite the fact that this is a very like business-centric type post, I do find it interesting that they chose to share the sentiment of being pro AI in their imaging only to a site where the crocheters and the knitters really aren't. I do think there must have been a little bit of a mindset of like, they're not going to see this.
It's very covert, but it suggests a sort of attitude, the same one that led SciShow to be like, well, we didn't think knitters would be interested in science. Like, there's already this hurtful implication that crafting and innovation cannot intersect. Obviously, they didn't outright say that, but that's how it came off in certain respects. I suspect they didn't think their customers would see this. They thought they were just talking to the AI bro audience on LinkedIn. On the one hand, LinkedIn is obviously a different ballpark than Instagram or TikTok, but it is true that Hobbii does a lot of cross-posting. So Thomas himself is in the comment section and he responds to MK Harris saying, "I appreciate this angle. The photo shoot that was referenced in the post was the one where I had to have my picture taken, not a photo shoot of our physical products. I hope that is adding a little AI fun to a picture of me doesn't get conflated with our product photos where we genuinely go out of our way to be true to the yarn itself. This is a great example of one of the dilemmas we'll discuss at this event in Copenhagen." This is the comment that people cite a lot, both to say that, oh, Hobbii is using AI for product photos, and that no, Hobbii isn't. He's being very ambiguous in that he says, we go out of our way to be true to the yarn itself, but he does not explicitly clarify whether or not the product photos are made using AI. This AI fun is so unnecessary though. If you want to look like Captain Kirk, go cosplay. Maybe making a costume by hand would teach you something about fiber arts and make you take them seriously. Not only are you disrespecting your customer base, but also photographers, set designers, and other creatives, the people who used to be responsible for real beautiful pictures. The long and awkward photo shoot was a creative process that people put a bit of their heart and soul into. If Hobbii loses its heart and soul to AI for a quick buck, I won't buy from them and others won't either. Crocheters, knitters, and other crafters are patient problem solvers. We're used to looking for alternatives if the recommended yarn isn't available. So Catherine is kind of saying, like, if this is the sort of attitude with which you treat your creatives, it could lead to a boycott, and since creatives are creative, there's not going to be much trouble in finding yarn alternatives. Stephanie says, now that you've proven you're willing to use AI for marketing in any capacity at all, your customers are aware it's a very small step from editing a photo of yourself to manipulating or even completely generating product images. It comes across as inauthentic rather than playful, and shows a lack of faith in your people and in the creative process, especially in a time where fiber artists are under constant attack from AI scams. You've completely dismantled any trust you may have with customers by doing this. Your response is very telling that Hobbii doesn't know its audience, nor do they have a team that knows how to listen to it. It's unfortunate because this photo of Thomas that's been tossed into Google Gemini already existed. I found it posted a few weeks ago for some other event. If they didn't want to do a photo shoot, they just want to reuse old pictures. I think that's perfectly fine, but you could have put like on-screen text, just like with this earlier LinkedIn post with the same photo. Here's his profile picture. It's a nice picture. He looks sharp. He's a handsome guy. Like, they could have just posted that as well. You don't want to do a photo shoot. That's okay. There's ways to circumvent that doesn't involve using something that your customers are so vehemently against. I understand that he's the CTO of this company. He's not like director of photography or anything like that. It's not necessarily a creative role, but you're still part of this creative company. And if you want to like show your face on a public platform, there's still a role to be played. And posts like these, it sends a message whether you like it or not. Right, okay. Time for the tedious disclaimer. I want to get this out of the way early. I am well aware that nearly every platform at this point has some sort of AI integration. I'm aware that YouTube uses AI, my phone uses AI, nearly every company I buy from in order to survive. You know, the groceries where I get my food, the hospitals where I go to for healthcare, the airports where I go to travel and see my loved ones. They're using AI in some way, shape, or form. Like, we are not ignorant to this. It's common knowledge. So, you know, just to preempt the criticism that I'm gonna get, I don't think it's fair to use this, you know, all or nothing sort of mentality where you say like, oh, but you use AI anyway, and you know, you're just cherry picking and drawing arbitrary lines to like virtue signal or show moral superiority. I don't think that's fair criticism when it's literally impossible to opt out 100%.
I'm not a fool. I know that so many companies are using AI for a lot of things.
I want to post things on YouTube. I'm gonna have a fucking AI summary at the bottom of every video. I've received complaints that my videos show AI advertisements. This is something I cannot opt out of. I would have to disable every single ad category and simply not earn any revenue. And that's just an example of how AI sinks its claws into places where you don't want them to be. It's kind of being like, oh, you're a nudist, how come you wear clothes in public? Or like, you're against motor vehicles, how come you drive a car in this incredibly car-centric city with unwalkable infrastructure and unreliable public transport? But like, you can be butt-ass naked at home, you can drive a shorter distance and then walk the rest of the way. People who are anti-AI, they want harm reduction, not perfectionism. And something very easy to do is reusing photos instead of using AI.
They said no one has 100% control over AI, so they decided to go ahead and use the AI that they do have control over using.
The idea alone that no one has 100% control over AI is just so intellectually dishonest because you can 100% control your choice to intentionally engage or abstain from using AI, so even the premise of their argument is not making sense.
The whole sentiment of their statement saying, we have no control over AI, which is why now we're gonna use it for everything. There are certain things that we do have control over, such as how we personally use it. Every time I talk about the use of generative AI like this and AI in creative space, and everybody's like, but it's doing so much to like help medicine and cure cancer. I'm just like, that is so obviously like not the usage that I'm talking about. An AI enhanced photo of a man drinking whiskey while talking about how great generative AI is for taking shortcuts in his company is not the same as curing cancer. You know it.
When someone says, I'm anti-AI, there's unspoken nuance to it. It's just tedious to like restate these disclaimers every single time we have this conversation. What people are specifically against is generative AI in creative spaces. AI images used in advertisements, selling AI generated pictures slapped onto like Fruit of the Loom t-shirts at makers markets, or LinkedIn posts, because there's not only the threat of artists being made redundant or taken advantage of. There is a direct moral contradiction. Art is obviously very subjective, but I think many people would agree when I say much of the beauty in it comes from the creative process. In a day and age where things are wired for speed and convenience, there's beauty in dissent in choosing to spend hours knitting a sweater instead of buying one at Zara. What's ironic is that they critique this industry narrative of being obsessed with convenience only to turn around and do the exact same thing. Furthermore, I'm still not done. Generative AI for creative purposes is simply not that good as I speak. In fiber arts in particular, crochet and knitting patterns don't make sense. You know, the numbers are inconsistent, the projects they make look awful, and they don't look anything like what the AI generated picture promises. Yet in a matter of 2 to 3 years, AI has completely colonized creative e-commerce platforms such as Fiverr and Etsy. It's appropriated the work of existing artists, there's been a significant loss of employment opportunities for artists, and there's this ecological cost of AI use, which I would say is particularly costly in this industry because there is little to no trade-off, often negative trade-off. Also, they mention nothing about the fact that AI is literally destroying the planet. They don't seem to give a shit about our collective survival. So in a nutshell, there's more or less this collective agreement. AI in the art space is loser behavior.
Basically everybody in the fiber arts community is completely aligned that generative AI is fucking up this space, stealing patterns or making shittier versions of it, and people are getting scammed by buying these AI patterns, and so they're buying something that literally doesn't make sense and they're trying to make something that doesn't exist. To take that, the one thing that literally is threatening to destroy so much of what we've worked for, just use it to be like, I feel so awkward, so I'm gonna generate a photo of myself instead. It's a slap in the face. It's honestly pathetic.
How can you as a yarn company be so tone deaf to confidently post that and be like, hey guys, I know AI, has been stealing your work and stealing your patterns and stealing everything that you artists come out with, but guess what? I don't care, and I'm gonna be using AI anyway. So annoying when brands, especially brands in the fiber arts space specifically, shows us that they just don't care. They do not give a fuck. And it's clear when you're starting to use systems and integrating systems that negatively impact the community that you're in.
People say, if you don't embrace it, you're gonna get left behind. But I just have to ask, like in this particular context, what is leaving us behind? Profit margins? Awkwardness? When you have a big platform that people go to get their craft supplies, to practice the thing that they love so much, and that big platform goes, oh, photo shoots are awkward, we just want to go the fast, free, and easy route. It's upsetting. Nobody is being upset by technological innovation. Nobody's being upset that, oh my god, we can detect cancer early on. People are upset about unemployment, environmental decimation, theft, and also the fact that nobody is willing to do simple tasks anymore, like take a selfie. I repeat this long disclaimer over and over, yet I just don't feel like it's very difficult to comprehend and empathize with the fact that so many creatives just don't like AI in their space. I feel like some people are being like purposely dense so as to rage bait, like when people say, oh, you'll live, it's not that deep, you should move on. If the one thing that helps you find escape from the stresses of the world, if the one thing that you enjoy most, that soothes your disability, that allows you to make a living and be autonomous, is threatening to disappear. Or like say if Hobbii is the one yarn retailer that you can buy from because you live in a really rural area and they're showing signs of enshittification, It's not that simple. It's not as simple as just moving on and getting over it. Elise on LinkedIn was actually speaking in defense of Hobbii, and she says Hobbii has become a receptacle for all the frustration that has been building around AI in general, way beyond anything they specifically did. The craft community is structurally vulnerable to generative AI. Style theft, generated patterns, devalued art. The wound is real and runs deep. Add to that the accumulated anger around AI's ecological impact, job losses, copyright issues, the Etsy situation, and you get a powder keg. I do agree with this first paragraph that Elise writes, in that it is a lot of frustration directed at Hobbii over a series of things that aren't they're doing entirely, but they are, contributing to this pattern. She continues, let's take a step back and actually read the post. Hobbii explicitly used AI for one image, an internal LinkedIn visual, and were upfront about it. That's it. They said nothing about product photos, no announcement about replacing photographers or laying off creatives. The post itself questions the human cost of AI, the loss of autonomy, the trade-offs. Their CTO is literally joining a panel to debate AI dilemmas openly. And yet the comments are flooded with boycott calls, declarations of lost customers, and statements like AI has no place in art. The most striking irony, Hobbii is being punished for transparency and self-criticism in a post that is fundamentally asking the same questions the angry commenters are asking. This is a pile-on, a lynching. Stephanie responds to Elise, Hobbii explicitly used AI for one image, an internal LinkedIn visual, and were upfront about it. While this post was the first that explicitly stated it, it attracted enough scrutiny to the company that it has now become clear all of Hobbii's LinkedIn posts are written or edited by LLM, and a subset of marketing images on all platforms have been edited by AI over the past few months. The most striking irony, Hobbii is being punished for transparency and self-criticism in a post that is fundamentally asking the same questions the angry commenters are asking. They were not transparent about previous use of AI and refused to publicly state that they will never use AI to alter or create product imagery. Only a single comment saying they haven't done so yet. Every day that this goes unaddressed further damages their reputation and alienates the customer base. What we're seeing here is a fundamental misunderstanding from a company about the perceived shared values that build trust with customers. Once again, up until this very point, they never specifically said they do not use AI for product imagery. If this is Thomas's comment that Stephanie is referring to, he did not actually say, we haven't done this yet. The way I interpret it, he's more like, whatever it is we are doing, the pictures look like the real thing. Elise and Stephanie had another exchange. First, Elise writes, I don't understand the reactions here. At no point does Hobbii refer to AI for product photos. In fact, they don't explain at all how they use AI today, and almost every company is at least testing it for drafts, proofreading, data analysis, etc. I know generative AI is causing real harm in the crafting industry, and it's a genuine concern. But what I see here is people extrapolating and rushing to judgment very quickly. Stephanie replies, they've been pretty blatantly using AI for all their LinkedIn posts to date, and it's been apparent over the last few months that they're using AI to edit photos for marketing. Not of product yet, but of employees and stores. Many of us who are longtime customers were aware and upset that customer-facing employees were laid off this year. And this post has made it pretty obvious that those layoffs were because C-suite thought AI was an acceptable replacement for real people whose names and faces we know. This is not just an issue of AI bad, but also evidence of systematic devaluing of people and art. Yeah, when Elise says they don't explain at all how they use AI today, that's part of the problem, is there's this kind of false transparency where they're in that one post like, oh, this post is generated with AI and we do use AI, but they don't really elaborate further. And I feel like at this point, with all the assumptions, like, oh, you're using AI for product photos, they could have just said, no, we don't do that, but they haven't yet, so it's just making people more and more suspicious. So now we're starting to touch on some other bits of the puzzle. I will say they have very AI-esque LinkedIn posts. Some conventions they use in their LinkedIn descriptions are very typical of ChatGPT. For instance, it's not just X, it's Y type of statements. These aren't just retail skills. This is the exact same DNA we need when we build digital experiences. Our main objective wasn't just to be present, it was to connect. Actually, in this post, the team is at a yarn festival they went to, and one of the influencers there is Zanit Knits, who was on the same podcast that Stephen West was seen on, the one with the conservative Knitler guy. I'm not trying to say anything, I just think it's a interesting crossover. With 90% of our revenue coming from e-commerce, our digital storefront isn't just a channel, it is the business. Another thing is M-dashes. Certain emojis are also very typical, especially on LinkedIn, so you'll see the rocket, the handshake, the sparkle, sapling, and the muscle arm. These are all emojis that ChatGPT loves to use. Obviously, this doesn't confirm anything. They could have taken other pages' LinkedIn posts and then just added in their own words and adjectives, reverse engineered it. I am also aware that I often do the it's not just X, it's also Y. It's another consequence of AI that people who don't use it, get accused of using it because they speak with certain cadences and like conventions that AI also uses, which is why I would be careful about immediately pointing fingers. But about a month ago, they did make a post and it straight up just says, "P.S. Who can spot how this photo got edited by AI?" And the photo, I'm guessing that they used AI to add in Johan, their CEO, because he kind of looks like a cardboard cutout. His foot is going underneath the pattern on the floor, and he's like in different lighting. It actually doesn't look like the work of AI. It looks like bad Photoshop. So there have been other confirmed instances of AI use outside of this one post that they kind of got under fire for. So Stephanie also mentioned staff layoffs. So let's look at that. Apparently, Hobbii was having some financial issues in the past couple of years due to market shifts. Earlier this year, the former CEO, Thomas Zeilund, stepped down, and he remarked that I came on board to work with the development and growth of the company, and that story has just become completely different. A couple months ago, he wrote the following LinkedIn post: "A bittersweet farewell to Hobbii, as I actually hadn't finished knitting my sweater, nor with exploring the immense potential of Hobbii. Nevertheless, I have decided to step down as CEO as of today. This is a decision that has been underway for several months and rooted in the need to believe. Since I joined, we have ticked off numerous strategic milestones set by the board, including establishing an incredible senior leadership team, migrating to Shopify, launching Copenhagen Fibers as a new product line, completing a strategic acquisition in Germany, and defining a new strategy with a significant step up in collaboration. Most importantly, we have attracted the greatest talent, and even more crucially, we have dared to trust those capabilities on this journey. However, market conditions have become increasingly challenging, particularly following the announcement of tariffs in one of our key markets, at a time of many other changes ongoing." I do believe he is referring to Trump's tariffs, which is affecting their US market. While it is the right move to right-size the team size at Hobbii to ensure a strong future, I have come to the conclusion that I am no longer the right captain to lead the ship through this next phase. My thoughts are with all of my dear Hobsters as you navigate the loss of colleagues and friends, as well as the personal stress this transition brings. The saying, "What got us here won't get us there," is particularly relevant now, and I hope it resonates at all levels of the organization. I remain a firm believer in Hobbii's potential, our talented team, and our strategic path. So to all you Hobsters, please continue to believe, keep trying, celebrate your achievements, and remember to smile. Thank you for having me. Thank you for everything. I wish you all the very best. And perhaps notable is at the very end of this post, he's got an AI image of him wearing his sweater that he never got to finish. Thomas was replaced by Johan Munk, the guy who looks like he got edited into that earlier photo, who allegedly then called for budget cuts, including a mass layoff, saying goodbye to around half their employees. It's funny because the budget cuts seem to backfire because now they're dealing with the consequences of not having a LinkedIn copywriter, not having a PR person. It seems like most of those who kept the company values in check and knew their customer base is now gone. They've cut costs, but at what cost? Their LinkedIn description says they're a tech startup and they're all about yarn, which is strange because I thought they were a yarn brand that was all about, creative community. Since when did that shift happen, and they would never say such a thing on their official website for customers to see. So it's quite sad. They've got all these issues. They've got the increasing AI use, the strange disconnect with their customers, the staff layoffs, and Hobbii was once known for their very strong community focus. So what is going on? Well, according to the Danish law firm Akura, a large chunk of Hobbii has been sold to a private equity fund known as Verdane in April 2022, and Akura was the law firm that oversaw that transaction. Unfortunately, I can't get into the exact terms of this transaction as I don't have legal access, but there's a possibility that nobody on the Hobbii team had any say in this, but rather it was Verdane that was making the structural changes and rearranging priorities. In the creative sphere in particular, selling to private equity is often considered a deal with the devil. Generally speaking, it already involves harmful capitalistic practices, such as the staff layoffs, lowering product quality whilst raising the price, using cheaper labor, all of these things to generate more wealth for the investor so that they can eventually resell the company for a huge profit. Such practices go directly against the philosophy of what crafting is at its core. Crafters choose the long route as an escape, as a descent against the ever-increasing rate of consumption. So there's this inherent clash between raising profit margins and fostering a space for creativity. So while it can momentarily save a business from bankruptcy, there's always this risk that customers are eventually going to notice all of these changes and be like, well, what's going on? Like, this brand isn't what it used to be. Even with Hobbii, people have marked that there's been a quality decline with their yarn. They're seeing rougher textures, inconsistent dye lots, more factory knots.
Their quality has gone down in the past couple years. The cotton specifically, the darker color washes of cotton, like the dark green and the black and the dark brown, significantly less soft. I was making a skirt recently and I was using old skeins of their black yarn for most of it, and I ran out. I ordered some more when it came. It was so coarse, it was so rough, and I was so disappointed. It's like, if this is any indication of the future of their quality control and how the company is going to continue to be run and what it's going to prioritize, I'm out, man.
Creative businesses are particularly vulnerable to private equity practices due to the precarity of the industry, partly due to AI use. Often, it is a last-ditch effort. Their uniquely high-touch relationship with customers is seen as a valuable form of capital that can be taken advantage of by investors, because loyal customers are less likely to switch retailers when changes do come about, let alone boycott entirely. It makes a lot of sense to me that they're no longer this smaller team, but they're owned by a larger investor. Hence why the sudden pandering to AI bros on LinkedIn, talking about innovation and sovereignty rather than creativity and community. Those now in charge simply don't have the plot. And this is not the first instance of people in finance and business fundamentally misunderstanding fiber arts and what it stands for. You know, they sort of see things like commercialization and private ownership as like these innovative gaps that, hey, nobody else in this industry is doing, but it doesn't occur to them that there's like a very valid reason as to why nobody is doing that in this industry. It makes sense in the most awful way. They don't actually care about their customers, they care the investors. Ignorant private equity investors are easily wooed with flashy new things, and they're absolutely obsessed with replacing marketing creatives with AI to drive down labor costs. It's gross and unsustainable. None of the C-suite cares about the long-term viability of the company when there are short-term financial gains that will set them up with golden parachutes. While it is disappointing, it should come as a surprise to no one. Hobbii was founded by private equity bros with no background in fiber arts. They just saw an opportunity to repackage our craft and sell it back to us, and took it. So now is probably a good time for me to ask you, what with, a yarn company being affected by the US president's tariffs and going downhill after a capitalistic transaction, is knitting still not political? Is knitting still free from politics, above politics? For those who are like, oh, like, why are you making knitting so political? Hear me out. Do you have a dog? Imagine the pet company you've been buying from to get things to feed your dog. They sell out to private equity. And then suddenly they announce, yeah, we're gonna start doing animal testing on dogs and cats, including dogs of your breed. And their justification is, well, the ethical route is just so awkward. And let's be honest, nobody can 100% control animals. Also, the dog food is now shit and more expensive, and it's giving your dog tummy aches. Or do you have children in school? Imagine one day the school said, okay, we're gonna lay off all of the staff, all the teachers, all the cafeteria workers. We're gonna raise the tuition by 30%. Your kids are gonna come to school and they're gonna watch YouTube videos all day. And they're gonna play on cool math games. And during lunchtime, they're gonna eat Lunchables and gas station sandwiches. And their reasoning is that teaching and cooking and dealing with children is just so awkward because nobody can 100% control children. If you spoke up and I were to be like, oh, but there's just bigger problems, and you're so dramatic because you care about this when there's literally child trafficking going on and deforestation and war, I think you should just lighten up, smile more. My kids and my dog never had an issue with this kind of stuff, so I think you're just being oversensitive and woke. How would that make you feel? Would my remarks fix the issue for you? Do I sound intelligent, or do I sound incredibly apathetic and out of touch? Am I correct in saying that it's not that serious, or am I just trying to protect my own blissful ignorance, when in reality, my dogs, my children will also be affected by this eventually, even if I ignore it, even if I beat down the people who are protesting against it? The sort of comments I'm pulling from. Look at this one. This was left under Emma's video. Colleen is not listening. Colleen has watched long enough to learn one detail, and before we move to other pieces of the puzzle, she's covered her ears and made a judgment. And frankly, she's being incredibly rude as well. Calling Emma stupid and ridiculous and telling Emma to get over herself whilst also broadcasting her own blindness and entitlement. I didn't have issues, so I don't give a fuck. Emma did have an issue with it, so she does give a fuck. Emma using her platform to speak about it is going to ensure that Colleen can continue enjoying fabulous and affordable yarn. Is that so hard to understand?
Does this seem like it's a non-issue, small potatoes thing to some people? Maybe, but not to me, and not to a lot lot of other people in this community who are in this fiber arts world.
All of these creators that I've shown using their platforms to talk about the Hobbii issue, they have the freedom to discuss what they feel is important. Why does that anger people so much? Why are people so averse to politics when they are affected by politics as well? This is a whole other tangent, a whole other issue to be addressed. Nobody is saying that there's not other problems in the world. Nobody is saying that Hobbii selling out is like, oh my god, the worst thing that to ever happen, and like it's worse than child trafficking, it's worse than this or that. Using other conflicts in order to downplay the one at hand is an appeal to worse problems, and it's whataboutism. I know I call out logical fallacies a lot. It's because I want to deal with the topic at hand. I don't want to weed through a constant flaw in reasoning. Let people feel stirred about things. Let people feel passionate about things. Colleen Morgan was very passionate about how Emma was too passionate. This is another issue of AI use, right? Is it's causing decline in cognitive empathy, the ability to pick up on spoken nuance, and honestly just like self-regulation and comprehension skills. People don't understand argumentative conventions that were taught in secondary school anymore, so they see discourse and like if it's about something that they like, such as a yarn brand, they feel personally attacked, and so they retaliate with verbal abuse. When yarn becomes unaffordable, as companies do more and more price gouging and budget cuts, which is exactly where Hobbii is headed if nobody intervenes, I don't want to hear any complaints from those of you who have been being like, oh, but I'm just above politics, and I think we should all lighten up, and I think Emma is stupid and ridiculous. I hope you stay lightened up and above politics. We're constantly fighting against this stigma that knitting and crocheting, these are all just, you know, like these little silly crafts that are practiced by stupid little women who have no skill, no intellect. But suddenly, something such as the Hobbii situation comes up and there's talk of boycott, there's talk of capitalism, and people want to all of a sudden switch up and play into that stigma of self-infantilization, saying, it's just knitting, it's just a hobby, it's not that deep, I think we should all sit and knit. Like, isn't that what Hank Green said in that SciShow video and we all got mad? Come on. And since we are still fairly niche, I feel like people use that as an excuse, like, oh, it's just knitting and crocheting, like it's not the biggest problem in the world, like there's bigger communities. But I want to hear what those same people's excuses are when it is a bigger problem in the world and they still don't want to do anything about it. They still don't want to talk about it. End of second disclaimer. So let's, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about what was all this previous talk about content creators.
Hobbii already has like a negative look in my eyes because they are known for not paying the fiber artists and content creators that they work with.
One of my mutuals, who is also a content creator, she showed me a collaboration request that she received from Hobbii back in 2024. And I just want to show you the message, and I want you to guess how large this creator's platform is. Like, how many followers, how many views. Hi, I hope you're doing well. My name is Sylvia and I work at Hobbii as a content coordinator. I came across your account and I'm absolutely in love with your videos and pictures. You're super talented. We would love to use your strawberry bag reel in our Meta paid ads campaign to promote ribbon yarn. In exchange for your permission, I would be happy to offer you a coupon worth $30 to use on your products as a token of appreciation. We would of course tag you and your pattern in the caption. Please let me know if you're open to this and if you have any questions. Looking forward to hearing from you. $30 coupon in exchange for content. Take a moment, try and guess how large is this content creator? Couple hundred followers, couple thousand? It's Alexandria Massey, 282,000 followers. If you're like, this was 2024, like her platform must have been smaller. Yeah, sure, little bit smaller, but she was already killing it back then. Like if we scroll back to 2024, her posts were reaching like over 10,000 likes, reels that reached over 100K views, some of them even clearing 1 million, and they wanted to offer her a $30 coupon. A $30 coupon for content that is clearing those types of numbers. This is the same audacity as when you put that you crochet or knit on your dating profile and then the people you match with are immediately like, oh, can you make me a sweater if I pay for dinner on the first date? If the first date goes well, when you make me a sweater? And she responded, "Hi Sylvia, offering a $30 coupon to use my video as an advertisement is genuinely one of the most insulting offers I've ever received in the few years I've been a content creator. If you want to repost my video and run it as an advertisement, I can give you a rate if you email me with the conditions. I will not take yarn or gift cards for payment. I can be reached here." And they didn't even respond back. They just started sending her auto-promotional messages. Never spoke of the collab again. Stitched by Emma also worked with them a couple times since 2022, which is the year in which they sold out. And she explains that with each collaboration she did with Hobbii, they became more and more demanding. More videos, tighter deadlines.
The first one that I did, the requirements were just to make, I think, 1 or 2 posts. And every time it got a little steeper. Now they want 3 videos. Now they want 4 videos, 5 videos and a story. By the time we got to the last time that I collabed with them, they wanted over 10 videos from me. And these were kind of rigid deadlines, right? It was like 1 or 2 a week. They wanted it cross-posted TikTok and Instagram and stories. So they were asking for, I think, like over 16 submissions over the span of like a month of videos. That's a lot of fucking videos.
And at the end of her anecdote, my jaw dropped because you know what she said? She said she did not get paid. She only got free yarn. That is ludicrous.
The Hobbii campaigns, you had to submit like 8 to 20 videos under very strict deadlines, and they would hound you if you didn't get them in time. That should be paid.
Alexandria says that a request of that size warrants financial compensation of $1,000 minimum, regardless of the size of your platform. So several creators spoke up, they took it to the internet, and they also asked Hobbii, hey, can I get some more compensation? Can I get paid? Only to get ghosted.
Do you get paid? Do you get paid? And we're like, no, none of us are getting paid. And they're like, I'm gonna ask next time. Then, like clockwork, so many people never got the invite back, and a couple people asked if they could get paid, and they were like, no. How about we circle back to this another day? The second people started asking for monetary compensation, they got ghosted. I feel like especially since this is an industry full of young women, people know that young women are afraid to speak up for themselves, that young women are taught not to speak up for themselves. So especially to ask for something like money when they're doing work for somebody is something that they might not be inclined to do or might be told that they shouldn't do because it's unladylike or it's like overbearing.
And since then, Emma observes that Hobbii began turning to smaller creators, you know, those who didn't really know their rights or industry standards, those who were just grateful and excited to be landing a brand deal. These sort of egregious expectations, they occur more in influencer marketing than you think, especially in this creative industry when it should not be normal. I've worked with brands way smaller than Hobbii, and they've always listened to me. They've always had the budget for me. I have received better offers than a $30 coupon back when I had 200 subscribers. So asking for so many posts, making the influencer spend hours filming content and also just making the knitting or crochet project and cutting ties as soon as they're like, can I get money? As a company as large as Hobbii, that is extremely selfish and exploitative and frankly just naive. You're paying creators because they have a large platform, they have influence. Unless non-disclosure was part of the deal, which is already kind of sus, it's naive to think that they're not going to use that very platform and influence to speak out if you mistreat them. It's very easy to see somebody online with a big following and forget that they're human. You know, they still need a salary, they still have bills to pay, they need to eat, and they need time to crochet things. I don't care how many followers you have, how famous you are. You deserve fair compensation if a brand asks you to do things. That is work. You deserve to be listened to and treated fairly. If you don't have the budget nor decency to take care of the creators you work with, you should not be doing influencer marketing. Recently, they've brought their affiliate program to a complete halt. Gives me a feeling that they also laid off the marketeers who knew about the ethics of brand collaborations. So not only is turning to AI kind of a pattern within this industry, prioritizing profit over people has been a pattern of behavior on the part of Hobbii. It's been a topic of gossip for a while now. A few creators were sort of preempting this downfall. In fact, Naughty Bear Crochet basically predicted it about a month ago with his video. So in addition to the aforementioned, there's been more. Like they recently got rid of Matthias, who was the German market's very beloved bingo host, and that raised a few eyebrows. They stopped shipping to a couple countries. Some people reported getting AI messages when trying to contact their customer service, and the social media communication is weird. Like it's not been looking good for a while now. So again, it's not, just that one post that is, sparking all of this controversy right now. That was just the final degree before the boiling point. And given that they've been commercialized for a while now, it's not the biggest shock that they continue going in this direction, but it's still disappointing. It's still a brand that was once good becoming shitified. And while they've still got redeemable qualities for the time being, I'm curious for those who say like, oh, I'm still gonna buy from them, I don't think it's that serious. I want you guys to tell me, where would you draw the line? Like genuinely asking. Do we want to wait until more damage is done, more staff layoffs? Is it when your favorite yarn comes infested to you with beetles because they've cut costs on quality control? Is it the animals you care about? Are we gonna wait until the yarn suppliers, they start hiring cheaper, more inexperienced farmers who like repeatedly accidentally cut into the sheep's skin while shearing them? If all of this isn't a problem, if it isn't raising alarm bells for you now, I want to know when would it become a problem for you? And even if this isn't the biggest issue in the world, it's still a very good case study. You know, even with bigger world problems, it doesn't just appear full swing. It always has the initial latent subtle stages. It starts with words instead of actions. It starts with limit testing. And I think it's an important skill to have to identify certain patterns and intervene before things do turn into a full-on crisis. Web Goddess on Reddit shared a response she got from Thomas himself. I reshared it on LinkedIn with a note that I wouldn't be buying from them anymore. Their CTO actually replied, "Hi Christine, I am sorry you feel this way." English is not his first language. No comment. I am also a little surprised that this is the post that triggered this. This post is about me, CTO at Hobbii, participating in a panel discussion, specifically about the dilemmas introduced by the rapid rise of AI. As a fun little gimmick, we rendered a picture of me by having an AI model add a drink and some signage. While we take our responsibility very serious, we have to explore new technologies as they enter the market or risk being left behind. What is leaving us behind? Profit margins? Awkwardness? In any case, thanks for sharing your perspective. It does mean a lot to us. Regards, Thomas. Again, like, left behind from what? I'm only seeing a negative correlation between how good their brand is doing and how much AI they're using. I am also a little surprised that this is the post that triggered this. A website that sells yarn to people that craft are surprised their customers appreciate art and want to protect it and would realize that AI impacts creativity in artists. That fun little gimmick picture just wasted insane amount of data processing and energy for what? Hobbii exists to help crafters and artists who pride themselves on making durable items for themselves so they can escape the unshittification of modern life and tech nonsense. We craft to try and reduce the endless consumerism and push to buy all the disposable things, but it's just fun content and saving money to them. But if you run a company marketing to creatives and pride yourself on getting rid of human creativity, you've really missed the mark. Even if it were just this one instance of AI use, people were still like, well, what's to say they won't eventually pipeline into AI use in other places too.
So what we can get from this post is that you guys will also be using AI for your yarn pictures and your yarn and stuff. You can say, no, you're not going to, but why would we believe that?
There is some confusion about what they actually use AI for, since again, they've been very vague and ambiguous. And Thomas says product images are true to the real thing, but he never explicitly said AI is not used. So if baby back bitch on Reddit is being honest, then I do have some bad news. Placed an order literally 2 days before this post. Emailed them last night to cancel and share disappointment of thoughts of AI. This was the reply. Thank you so much for taking the time to share the honest thoughts with us. We truly value your feedback and appreciate your long-standing support of Hobbii. We want to reassure you that the product you see in our photos on our website and ads and on social media is exactly what arrives at your door. We never compromise on the authenticity of our yarns. But like, do you use AI or not? Like, just, they're beating around the bush a lot. Our wonderful in-house team of content creators continues to photograph and film real handmade projects created by our own amazing crafting partners and designers. When we use AI, we use it only as a helpful tool to show you other creative possibilities, like making adjustments to the background or visualizing the project in a variety of colors, an opportunity we couldn't offer prior to the usage of AI. This allows us to offer more inspiration while we remain deeply committed to making sure every image stays true to the real-life product. Our goal is to make shopping with us as vibrant and inspirational and reliable as possible, and we promise to always put quality and our community first. As your order has already left our warehouse and on the way to you, it is not possible for me to cancel it. I'm sorry. Unused items can be returned for a full refund within 3 months of ordering. Please note that return labels are not available and you will be responsible for the return shipping costs. If this is truly an email they sent, then Hobbii is in fact using AI for product images. It's already happening. They're still taking real photographs. They've got an in-house team, as they said, but they are using AI for post-production, for changing backgrounds and showing different colors. Which, these are some of the easiest things that you can do without AI. Let me show you. This is how I make my thumbnails actually. So let's say I have this skein of yarn. I can take a quick photo with like a clear-ish background. Say I want to remove the background. I have a MacBook, so I can just go into preview and use the wand tool, and this is just a color detector that selects areas with similar values, and I can delete the bulk of the background, load this onto Canva. I don't have Camera Premium. I know Canva has a lot of AI features, just don't use the AI features. Look, I can clean up what the wand tool didn't get rid of using the eraser. Mind you, this is like the second platform that I've migrated to, because editing platforms like this are also getting in shitified. They're adding and more AI features and paywalls. So obviously the fact that Canva has so much AI is not ideal, but for the time being, there's still ways you can work around it. I am literally just going around manually with my trackpad here. And from there, I can put any background I want. I also want to show what a purple one looks like and what a green one looks like. I can just play around with these sliders, boom, and I think that looks pretty similar to what the product photos on Hobbii look like. See, a couple minutes worth of playing around and with some time and practice, it can do just fine as a product listing if you absolutely don't want to take pictures of the real thing. But apparently, according to another user, their product photos don't in fact match the real thing. A couple weeks later, Hobbii posted a response, but they didn't post it to their LinkedIn page where the post was made. They didn't post to any of their many Instagram pages, but they said something on the Hobbii Bingo Facebook live stream. And the response was not by the CTO Thomas, not the CEO Johan, but the Hobbii Bingo host named Christina. And luckily somebody screen recorded it and posted it to Reddit.
I know that when it comes to sensitive things, it's very easy to say something that can be misinterpreted. The first thing I wanted to mention is authenticity. It's like one of the key values. It means that in the photos and the patterns and ads and on social media what we're writing, and those things that you see, the product, the yarn or the accessories and stuff, it's exactly what you see is what you get. The second thing is we do have an in-house team that work hard on creating social media posts and content and everything like that. And I'm kind of a part of it a little bit because I'm in the studio right now, but I'm not directly producing it, of course. But it's people producing it and not AI. All the Hobbii social media posts are as far from AI as is even possible. Actually, I can tell you a personal anecdote here. I'm a perfectionist. If I would make a reel for my Instagram about crocheting, I would spend days maybe on it. But working here, I really learned that what's most important, it's like your humanity, and being human, it's also making mistakes and not being perfect actually. And I kind of learned to embrace that, and for me that's been so good because it helped me to move on and not focus too much on being perfect. And then there is this third thing I wanted to mention. There were people that were let go from Hobbii, and I'm personally, of course, sad because I lost some people that I really like a lot and care about. But that actually does not, even though it sounds like a coincidence, like it is a coincidence. Hobbii is not replacing people with AI. There are fake companies selling fake patterns out there for fake things that you can't even crochet. Fortunately, Hobbii does not do that. Thank you very much. I think I said everything. I'm gonna say maybe something else pops up in my head and then I'll say it. But otherwise, I think that we should just enjoy this today's bingo.
At the start, I think what she may be hinting at is the fact that people kind of saw one thing and then they made further assumptions. But Hobbii did later confirm that they do indeed use AI for product images, even if they're not fully AI generated. I do think that the initial assumption that they were doing that was not fully warranted, but after some investigation, it was proven to be true in a certain capacity. But she could also be just referring to herself and how she was trying to be careful with her words so as to not get misconstrued. And she does say that the mass layoffs only coincided with the AI use and it's unrelated. It is very seldom the initial reaction that stays with people, it is the response. And people did not like what Hobbii did here. There is no perfect statement, but there are some baseline expectations. Firstly, the visibility. Your response should be somewhere where your community can repeatedly access. A statement on a story post or a live stream that disappears shortly comes off as, oh, we did post a response, you just didn't see it, but now since you can't see it, you can't give us criticism. The bingo is only one small part of Hobbii. Only a select few are going to see this. And by having Christina speak, she's being thrown under the bus, like being made into a scapegoat of the situation. It feels like the people responsible for Hobbii's executive choices and whoever wrote the LinkedIn post is hiding behind somebody who is more of a brand face. I've cut down a lot of her response to show the key parts. If you want to watch the full thing, I've left the Reddit link in the description. It really seems like they just tossed her on stage and said like, yeah, just make some argument for authenticity and bring a personal touch to it. Okay, toodaloo. And I'm not making fun of Christina. English is obviously not her first language, and she's put into this, unfair position with seemingly very little preparation. And while she's trying to speak, people in the comments are just being a bit pushy, like, show the cards, like, I want to get on with the bingo, like this poor woman. She said herself, she's not even part of the in-house team. I feel like it would have made more sense to like have the photographers make a statement or show a little bit of the BTS of their work to really illustrate, this is what we use AI for. Just to be very, very clear. Because unfortunately, this response just left an even more bitter taste in people's mouths.
Guys, Hobbii have responded to the backlash. Kind of. I honestly feel dreadful for her. This whole mess is absolutely not her fault and is clearly not the result of anything that she's done. Yet she has been sent onto this live stream in front of a lot of quite frankly angry customers to make some attempt at damage control. It does feel like a cop-out to me to respond on this bingo stream that can't be rewatched instead of actually putting out a real appropriate response. I think she's been used as a bit of a sacrificial lamb here to like test the waters of how we might react to this kind of response. I get the impression she wasn't really given much direction, and she obviously was of course probably quite nervous. I would have been.
Hobbii left a comment on their latest post saying that they consider the bingo stream as their detailed statement on this matter. What a laugh. If it's possible, I'm even more angry at the Hobbii management now for putting an employee at this terrible position. I'm so upset that they've put the social media team and the bingo team on the front lines like this. It is incredibly cowardly. You know what? I don't believe them. This is a reaction to the backlash, which they were not prepared for. They clearly don't understand their customers or the craft. They treat their staff terribly, and they keep changing the goalpost on what they will be using AI for. We weren't born yesterday, and nobody's going to trust them ever again. Obviously, this response was lackluster and only dug themselves deeper, so Hobbii went ahead and made a more official response post to their Instagram this Monday. Dear yarn lovers, we would like to address our recent post on LinkedIn regarding our use of AI, which sparked a lot of valid worry and concerns. We have spent the last week reading your feedback, comments, and we want to say we did it wrong, and we are sincerely sorry for the lack of clarity in that post. Hobbii does not use AI to generate product or pattern images or to misrepresent our yarn. It is not used to replace the work of photographers, crafters, product designers, pattern designers, or content creators. Our 4 talented in-house content creators work tirelessly with influencers and designers to produce the content for our social media and website. We are deeply sorry that our previous post led anyone to doubt their hard work and talent. We also want to be completely transparent about how we use AI so you can trust that it will never touch our patterns or misrepresent our products. AI is used only for back-end tasks, analyzing admin data, coding, minor translation tasks, and basic customer service inquiries. Please do note that human support is always available in our customer services. In marketing, we've used it only as a tool for creative possibilities like adjusting a background or visualizing a project in different colors, as these AI tools are already available in Photoshop and other softwares. With that being said, we insist on re-mentioning that we have and would never AI generate the visual content you see daily on our website or social media. Sophie, Chief Yarn Officer at Hobbii. As active members of the community ourselves, we appreciate and respect the passionate feedback we've received. As CYO, my mission, together with our extraordinary team, is to ensure we always have the best yarns and accessories for you. This has always involved manual, hands-on work in close partnership with our suppliers worldwide. All our skeins, patterns, designs, and projects are 100% made by humans. That is and always will be essential to us. Johan, CEO at Hobbii. At Hobbii, we sell yarn and crafting accessories. While we are an e-commerce company, we are not a tech company. We are a yarn company, and we always will be. We want to be open about the processes where we use AI to help our hopsters serve our community better, but we will never use AI for our core business, the creation of yarn, designs, patterns, projects, or events like our Hobbii bingo. This is true craftsmanship. I also want to directly address the speculation that AI was linked to the recent layoffs at our headquarters in Copenhagen. It was not. That was a painful but necessary decision due to challenging market conditions, primarily in the US and Europe. Thank you for speaking up and for your incredible passion for this craft. It is a space that must be protected. We will continue to be a trusted, active, and human part of the knitting and crochet community we love. Onwards and upwards, we go together to bring smiles to all yarn lovers. Warmly, Sophie, Johan, and the rest of the hopsters at Hobbii. The first thing I noticed before we say anything else is when they say on slide 5, we are not a tech company, we are a yarn company. Because I read that and I was like, no, I swore they said they were a tech scale-up according to their LinkedIn bio a couple days ago. I had that written down in the notes for this video, but I didn't have a screenshot. I went to their LinkedIn and their description has been changed. It now says we're a yarn company that started back in 2015. So I was like, no, that's not what it said a few days ago. So I used the Wayback Machine to look at earlier saved archives of their LinkedIn page. And sure enough, there's a capture from February 2026 that has an old description we're a tech scale up and we're all about yarn. And I'm certain that they also had that description as recently as like last week. But like, okay, I think it's important to make clear, because I have a feeling this statement is gonna get twisted and paraphrased a lot. They say, we are sorry that our previous post led to this. We are sincerely sorry for the lack of clarity in that post. They are not apologizing for their lack of transparency about AI use in general. They are not apologizing for the AI use itself. The refusal to pay content creators is not mentioned. The decline in yarn quality, the statement by Christina is not mentioned. They briefly allude to the tariff issues. They do clear up some assumptions that were made, but what they ultimately apologize for is this one LinkedIn post, that it was a misleading post. And as I've shown in this video, that post is only a portion of this story. I'm not trying to say that this is a lackluster statement. I just want to make sure we're all reading the same statement and comprehending it before making a judgment. Just to make my stance clear, I don't expect it to be completely abolished. I don't even expect companies to cease their use of AI. I just ask for transparency and maybe some moral consistency, like to the best of one's ability. If a creative company wants to use AI, like just be honest, say right off the bat instead of, soft launching or being evasive. Be honest and deal with the consequences of that truth rather than dancing around it because you know that it won't be taken well. Concerning that you're alienating your customers this way, I don't see how you're able to validate your use of AI if it's costing you the trust of your customer base. Incredibly disappointing. Yeah, see, they knew this. It's one thing to use certain practices that your audience doesn't like, but it's another thing to beat around the bush and backtrack when you do get caught. There are a couple people saying, well, the problem is that you're using any sort of AI at all, which I don't personally agree with, but I also wouldn't go as far as saying that the criticism that Hobbii is receiving under this post is a lynching or a witch hunt. The criticism that Hobbii is receiving is in the best interest of keeping this community and this craft accessible. If we wanted to bury them, we would just not say anything and let Hobbii keep digging themselves into the ground the way they already were. My current gripe is that there still is this insincerity or this kind of naivety. Firstly, in going from yarn brand to tech scale up to no, we're not a tech scale up, we're a yarn company and we always have been, when they literally were a tech scale up last week. I don't know whether they're trying to inform us or they're trying to figure it out for themselves. And whether the layoffs were to replace the staff with AI or not, there's still this unaddressed issue of the way they're treating their people, throwing Christina onto their live stream, not paying their influencers even when AI is not involved. And it seems to me that they're under this impression that they can be redeemed by the distinction between, no, we don't AI generate, we AI augment. We don't generate the photo, we take the photo and then we use AI to tweak the colors in the background, as if circumventing post-production isn't also replacing someone's work. And by considering that distinction to be significant or redeeming, it still shows a fundamental misunderstanding of who their audience is. I'm not saying that, Hobbii is irredeemable. I'm saying that if people do come back to them and forgive them, it's not because, guys, they only used AI in post-production, not for the photo shoot itself. And like I showed you earlier in this video, it doesn't have to be a huge commission. You don't have to pay a new staff member an extra $1,000 every single month. I'm sure one of those members of the in-house photography team can do something like that.
Do you have no one on your tech team that can use Photoshop? Canva? Can you not pay someone to make creative photos? I mean, you guys are already used to not paying creatives anyway, fiber artists, for their work, their hard work. So of course you're not going to pay a photographer to take a picture of you.
It's quite sad because even with the resignation statement of their former CEO, he was like, we've attracted the greatest talent and we've dared to trust those capabilities on this journey. But it seems now they really don't trust the capabilities of their staff. They don't trust that their in-house team can do photo editing. We would never use AI for our core business, then proceeds to list all of the reasons you use AI for your core business. Yeah, I do think as an e-commerce platform, there's a bit of an arrogance in considering marketing or back-end engineering not part of your core business. Even if your products are really, really good quality, they're fabulous, they're impeccable, it's still not enough to be successful. You need the web development, you need the brand identity and the brand integrity. Right, so I don't think Hobbii is evil. I don't think this is some deplorable situation with no redemption or coming back from. I don't think their CEO is Elon Musk level supervillain. I don't think it's right that some people are leaving comments under every single one of their Instagram posts being like, is this AI? Is this AI? Was this awkward to shoot? Guys, it's probably some poor employee that's fighting for their lives, responding to these comments on the behalf of Hobbii. I just think they have a fundamental misalignment with their customers, and they've been a bit deceptive whether they knew it or not. I think as a result, their customers feel a bit patronized, kind of lied to, and obviously the influencers who work with them still feel mistreated because they just haven't addressed that whatsoever. I do feel bad that they've been having issues, that they've had to do the staff layoffs. Obviously, you can't predict market conditions, and I think that kind of caused the domino effect of, okay, we're going to do this private equity deal, and we're going to make all of these structural changes, and then that kind of led to the eventual misalignment. I don't have skills in IT or business, so I don't expect, AI LinkedIn bros to understand fiber arts and creative values either. But that's why, like, you cannot simply outsource everything and lay off a bunch of people and be surprised when it causes issues. Like, there's the aspect of going against what the community stands for, but there's so much more to be said in the situation about, running a company, dealing with structural changes, learning new skills as a pre-existing employee, dealing with becoming a hot topic on Craftsnark and doing like PR and damage control, worrying about the longevity of your workplace. These are all like difficult things that, a chat GPT prompt cannot readily fix. And I'm beginning to see like some lost hope, some desperation now that Joanne's is gone, and there was that Stephen and Penelope situation, the Hobby Lobby drama, and now this. Being an ethical consumer, like, okay, I'm no longer talking about Hobby, I'm talking about in general. Being an ethical consumer and being vocal about distasteful practices such as creative AI use is becoming increasingly difficult, especially when there seems to be a growing number of people who kind of go through life with this like ditzy nihilistic attitude, and those people will also reap the benefits of other people's dissent, and then they'll be like, see, things changed for the better, it was fine after all, and I didn't have to do anything, I didn't have to throw a tantrum like you did. Speaking in general, forget Hobby for now, the cost of morality, moral congruency, aligning actions with values has always been inconvenience. Whether if it's going vegan or like buying secondhand exclusively or boycotting companies that do things you don't like, you're gonna have fewer options and people are gonna look at you like you're crazy for denying yourself certain conveniences and luxuries. You're gonna have to go out of your way, do more research, form stronger communities, perhaps even pay a little more. And for those who choose not to do that sort of stuff, they don't want to do anything on an individual level, they may say, well, one person won't make a difference, it's not that serious. Those people may feel threatened and ashamed by people who do choose to boycott, people who are willing to make sacrifices without complaint, because it forces them to interrogate their own inaction. They may beat you down, they might find reasons as to why your actions are like over the top and irrational and oversensitive. If you're unwilling to change your consumption habits, I'm not going to force you, I'm just going to show you information and then you can decide what to do with that. But don't shame people who are doing something, don't shame people who do feel invested, who do feel affected, who do think this is a big issue. One thing I'm noticing a lot is like this disdain for any sort of like dissent and protest by being like, you naive young people, like you're so extreme for caring about things and worrying about the state of the world and making personal choices based on morals, like you're so angry, and it's just starting to sound all too familiar. It's like, I just don't understand, like, do you think your apathy or like your inaction makes you superior, any more emotionally mature? Do you think you're superior for your lack of investment? Do you think you're smart by considering things like this internet drama rather than part of a larger systemic capitalistic issue? I'm seeing a lot of ageism, and yes, ageism goes both ways, where there's so much you can say about Gen Z, first of all, but I think Gen Z gets this sort of flack for being like woke and oversensitive and like making problems out of nothing. This is all an extension of what we learned. We didn't actually invent labor unions or climate action. That was all earlier generations. Maybe we just want drinking water in 20 years. We learned about what happened with commercialization in the 1920s, and we don't want to repeat the same mistakes. In other words, we learned wokeness from you. Or like, did you just not participate in those either because they were not that deep and like too dramatic and oversensitive? I've also heard people be like, well, I didn't cause this. Why should I suffer? Why should I inconvenience myself by restricting my options because of somebody else's wrongdoing? You would suffer from not buying specific patterns from one specific person, would you? Is that what you think suffering is? Yeah, first of all. And secondly, Again, you don't have to, I'm not telling you to. But the way I see it, it's gonna be hard either way. You just have to choose whether you want it now or later. Do you want to suffer now by dealing with the inconveniences of boycotting, of protesting, speaking up about things? Or do you want to suffer the consequences of Hobbii's yarn getting worse and worse in the future? Do you want to protest against AI use now, or do you want to suffer the consequences of maybe eventually getting your pattern stolen, or, you know, suffering from thirst and outrageous water bills when data centers use up all our drinking water? Do you want to suffer through taking care of your body now by working out, sleeping on a schedule, eating nasty vegetables? Or do you want to deal with the health issues and like nasty tasting medicine later down the line? If you're like being apolitical, you're like, I don't want to involve myself in all this. You've also got it hard because now you're frustrated by like all the political content. If you go your whole life thinking that like political dissent is like somehow a threat to you, that's also hard. That's a hard way to go about life. Without intervention, there's not going to be much left for us, you know, including the fabulous yarn for those of you who say you're above politics and that Stitch by Emma is stupid and ridiculous. It's already getting shittier and more expensive, for the record. Like, things are already changing, and if things change for the better, it's because of the stupid and ridiculous people who never stop complaining on your behalf as well. If you're thinking, well, I'm not going to live to see that happen, well, there's still loads of young people who will see the consequences. And if you want to say live and let live, then let people live out their right to protest and speak and use their platforms. And just to be clear, I don't believe in like eternal cancellation and refusing forgiveness either, you know? I don't want to lose Hobbii. I miss Joanne's. I'm sad about Hobby Lobby. If Hobbii says, okay, we're gonna start paying influencers, you know, and their quality goes back to the way it used to be, they figure out how to navigate their AI use, I'd be happy to see their community return to them. If our reaction to positive change is, well, I still don't forgive you, I'm still gonna keep boycotting, well, then that company has just like implemented better practices. They've cut costs again, and then other CEOs are going to see that and they're going to be like, why should I change if it hasn't benefited other companies, if people boycott and they just like boycott forever? Obviously depends on the nature of the boycott, like why we're boycotting. Generally speaking, we need to show that integrity is rewarded, you know, listening to your consumers is rewarded, accountability has payoff, right? I didn't mean to end on like such a dark note, so I do have good news, which is, I mean, I think he's kind of hard to miss. You've already seen him. Yeah, I have a pattern for him. His name is Jeep. It's a mix of Jungelskog and Eep, which is one of my beloved personal plushies. I'm looking for testers, and if you want to apply, you can fill in the Google Forms link. I do have some leftover yarn from this project, so if you are based in Amsterdam, I can provide yarn for you if you want to test. My next video will be how I designed him, so stay tuned, and I'll give an update on my rescue animals there as well. And by the way, these ear cuffs, I got these at a queer makers market. I'm gonna put the Instagram handle of the artist I bought them from because she is absolutely brilliant. And this is like fully removable. I don't have ear piercings, and all of these beads and charms here are secondhand. She thrifts everything and she upcycles, so she's really brilliant. If you guys don't know already, I'm also an animal rescuer, and I use a lot of the revenue for like medical bills, transportation. It's quite expensive, but I'm able to save animals because of you. Actually, for example, this, is one of my girls that I have. And as you can see, her feet are bandaged. She was unable to walk because her feet were tangled up in human hair, so we caught her, we cut everything away, and the cuts were really, really deep, so we do also have to do some long-term care. I just have to make sure that her skin is regenerating and all her toes are going back in the correct position. So when you guys support my channel and you watch my videos, you are helping me take care of girls like her and all my other rescues. I've left some resources in the description if you just want to learn more about the whole Hobbii situation, and I will see you guys in the next one.